I don't know what's wrong with me, but lately I felt an overwhelming exhaustion. Everything I do, everything I want to do, feels like a heavy weight. Some days I wake up and spend all my time helping everyone else. Friends, family, whoever needs me. And yet I feel selfish for wanting time to myself. It reminds me of those sitcom dads, in TV comedies, right? Who just want an hour of peace, but they just never get it. And if they do, the hour vanishes before they can even enjoy it, leaving them grumpy, hungry, and irritable. Like how you feel after you haven't eaten. Have you ever felt like time just disappears? One moment, you're booting up Team Fortress 2 for a quick late-night match, and before you know it, years have passed. Years. Thousands of hours sunk into jumping around a soldier on a jump map, tweaking war paints, vibing in a community server. Then one day, you glance at that little clock in the corner of your desktop, or worse, the calendar, and ask, wait a minute, where did all the time go? Time is strange. It speeds up when we're having fun and slows to a crawl when we're stuck at work, counting the minutes. When I was younger, weekends felt like a proper break, long, peaceful, and just enough time to disconnect, Now, it feels like I need 4 days off just to get that same feeling. Maybe it's because we spend time differently as we get older. I recently tried finally beating Skyrim. I've played around 150 hours before I ever did anything. It was always modded quests and goofing around in Whiterun with other goofy mods. I never actually finished anything. So I told myself just this once to complete the main quest. Nothing crazy. And then 50 hours later, I still hadn't done it. Bethesda games are like that. So in TF2, right, you grind through casual, get bored at 3,000 hours, then competitive sucks you in, and suddenly another year of your life is gone. Maybe you start making things, custom maps, skins, mods. Before long, you're leaving the game open in the background while messing with textures. You tweak, you refine, you get lost in the details, and suddenly the hour count doubles. How does this happen? More importantly, why does time move so fast when we're deep in these experiences? I remember a teacher once in school telling me, one of those health guru types, right? Saying that time feels like it speeds up as we get older. It's about perspective. When you're 5, a year is 20% of your life. When you're 25, it's only 4. That's why older people always say things like, one day I was 25, the next I was 40, right before ordering their next shot at the bar. It's not just age, it's how we spend the time, though. If you're stuck in the same routine, your brain stops marking time properly. Ever had one of those weeks where you wake up, sleep, work, play TF2, repeat, whatever that Fortnite shirt says? You look back and an entire month had just evaporated before you. How do we slow it down? How do we make it last? The answer, you hear it all the time, the spice of life is variety. If you play the same class in TF2 for years, like take me, I've played 3,000, 8,000 hours as soldier, something like that. If you take the same routine to work every day, if your days are a loop, your brain goes on autopilot and learns to go on autopilot. Everything blends, but when you switch things up, time stretches. If you swap from soldier to pyro, even if you hate pyro, like man, I hate pyro, the game feels fresh. If you take a different route to work, your brain wakes up to new stimuli. Life works the same way. Try a new food, pick up a new hobby, explore your world like you're looking for exploits in some old PS1 game for a speedrun, hoping to stumble upon cut content or secret lore implications. The more unique moments that you create, the more you remember your time. And when you remember your time, it holds value. So that maybe when you're feeling like you can't escape that drive, that highway speed your life's going on, you'll have something to hold on to. Here's the catch, though. If you push too hard, even variety loses meaning. This is what burnout is. Burnout isn't just about monotony. It's about overexposure to these things. You grind too long in work, a hobby, or a game, and it will stop feeling meaningful. I've seen it happen in TF2. Players who once loved the game wake up one day and they just feel nothing. It's not just TF2, but any passion, really. When something starts feeling like an obligation, the joy will disappear. You'll see it drop like stocks. That's when you need to step back. Think about how you don't notice a video game's background music until it stops. You don't realize how drained you are until you take a real break. Sometimes, stepping away from TF2 is the best way to enjoy TF2 again. It's not about quitting. It's about resetting. A quick fast. Try another game. Go outside. Change things up. And sometimes, the best way to fall back in love with something is to change how you engage with it. If playing feels like a chore, try making content about it, experimenting with mods, play in ways you've never considered before. Treat it like a fresh experience, and you might just find that spark you once had again. Time is valuable, and it's ridiculously easy to lose track of it, to lose it, to spend it. The trick isn't to fight it, it's to use it wisely. Mix things up, try new experiences, and most importantly, make sure you enjoy the time you're spending, because once it's gone, you're not getting it back. Have you ever had someone tell you that you have potential, that you can be something great? It's often said because you're young, because you can still move around. You got great knees, kid. We've all heard the joke, by the time you're 40 and you try something new, you're already too late. That's not entirely true, right? It's just what people say nowadays. There's merit to it, but I don't believe that. Our dreams are the things that motivate us, that push us forward. They're often more valuable than we realize. Beneath our dreams, our hopes, our goals lies something even deeper. One of the dreams I've been trying to pursue, something I've longed to do, is to create something meaningful, something with an impact. Sure, I've made a small mark recently with that whole war paint situation, but beyond that, I haven't done much. I've always wanted to make a comic, some kind of animation, something of my own. A big inspiration for me growing up was self-published comics from the early 90s and 2000s. If you're familiar with the Bone series, you know what I mean. It's about these small bone-like creatures who act as self-inserts for the reader, thrown into a grand fantasy world. It was a family-friendly book, but carried its sense of weight and prestige. It wasn't Hellboy, but it stood on its own as this unique, cool thing. And it had, blood, gore, whatever, but it was a scholastic book, right? So, family-friendly. It's also how I learned about quiche, the food. It's the only time I've ever heard it mentioned in that book. What drives me to create a comic, or just some kind of cast of characters, right? Something. It's more than just inspiration. It's a reflection of how the world has changed since I was a kid. I think we can all kind of relate to that. I think we all feel this, really, in different ways. When I look at old comics, cartoons, commercials from my childhood, I see a world full of color. But over time, that color has faded. Remember the gray I was talking about? Everything feels grayer, duller. Some people see this shift and long for the past. That's why nostalgia sells so well. You can find old Cartoon Network bumpers online, these beautifully created animations where different characters interact in 2D and 3D environments. They remind us of something lost. It brings to mind one of those cheesy framed quotes you see in people's houses, the kind you roll your eyes at, but you can kind of still relate to it. You don't realize you're in the good times until they're long past. I'm not trying to send us all into some nostalgic spiral. The real solution to this feeling isn't to mourn the past, but to recognize that we're what carry it with us. We're what's left. We're that infantry that moves forward with it. We grew up with it, and that means we can build upon it. A friend of mine once said that if you want to make a game like Team Fortress 2 again, you have to grow up in the same culture that birthed it, right? Like early Quake, Doom modding, local LAN parties. It was a time when developers shared an office, throwing ideas back and forth, tossing them, creating the best game ever. That doesn't happen anymore in our post-COVID world. And while we might wish for it to return, all we can do is first find like-minded people who see what we see, who want what we want, people who can be benefactors to our dreams and goals. Not all your friends will understand what you're trying to create. Not all of them will enjoy what you enjoy. When I was first starting and making war paints, and even now, I asked every one of my former teammates and friends I knew for criticism. I liked the Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant approach, where they, they needed to be better. Like, I think Kobe's was, he spent every day shooting 1,000 hoops, or Michael Jordan would record himself and ask everyone he knew what was wrong with his shots. I always think about the story, how Jordan recorded himself shooting hoops and asked everyone he knew, right? You can't please everyone though, but you will find one or two people, maybe not even your best friends, who understand you, who see what you're going for and can give you honest and what you perceive as valuable criticism. That's what you need when you're creating something, even yourself. That's why you see creators gravitate toward each other. Think back to those early days of Call of Duty funny moments, YouTubers or TF2 weapon reviewers from a decade ago. And even now, they weren't just collaborating for views. They were drawn to each other by the shared passion for creation. They understood each other. So as I move forward, working on this comic, hopefully, and other goals, I urge you to find people who want the best for you. You'll hear jokes in comics and cartoons about people giving up on their dreams because of family, because of responsibility. The truth is, your dreams don't die unless you let them. They live within you. They shape you. They can take you places you never imagined. They can teach you skills. They can forge you to be the person you need to be. And as always, take care and beware. This one took a minute to get out. If I had any request of anyone in the comments, what motivates you? What do you want to make? Everyone wants to make something. Music, a comic, an unusual effect, a new loadout, something. I know something motivates you. I'd love to hear it.